Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe I'm already saying that we are at the season finale for Severance. It has been quite a ride. There's been some bumps along the way for sure, especially like that one episode that was only 37 freaking minutes with Miss Cobell. That was a big thing. I don't know. Everyone in my office was saying how terrible that was, and I know everyone else I know was saying the same thing. Regardless, I haven't talked about Severance in quite some time on the channel, and frankly, it's because I feel like I'm too much of an idiot to actually talk about the show, because it blows my mind every single time I watch it. No joke. I'm not even kidding. Every time I watch this show, my predictions from last episode just go whoop, right out the window. Every time, because it's always something new, and season 2 has been very much like that. It's almost, honestly, a little frustrating, because every time I watch an episode, something new happens, and I'm like, well, there goes that theory, there goes that theory. But today, we're going to be trying to give predictions, but because I'm a little bit too much of an idiot, I figured it would actually be better to gather and curate some predictions from you guys on Reddit and talk about them, and then give a little bit of my predictions as well at the end. So that's what we're gonna do. So if we move over to this camera view here, you can see this is a Reddit thread. Ain't it great? Just a normal, regular Reddit thread. We're just gonna read through and we're gonna talk about them. So for instance, this first one, Howland Weed, is a very fun name. I don't even know how they get names like this. Says, Cobell is gonna meet up with Mark and Devin, and they go to the birthing cabin, so he flips to iMark, and they make a plan, or she knows a way to fully reintegrate. Now, I'm going to stop there and say, I think that is most likely the reality here. I know we have seen quite a bit with Cobell, and she's been very wishy-washy and clearly evil. But I think after the events for her that happened, where essentially she was almost basically killed by the people there, and she made the decision to go in with, you know, Helena and that security guard guy who does Bert's job, essentially, or leave. I think she's now going to flip a script. So I do think it's very likely that she will end up actually helping Mark. I think that's really likely, but let's keep going here. There's 1 to 2 reveals that are bigger than Cobell being the chip creator. Yeah, definitely I think that's going to happen. Jane is shown to have multiple consciousness in him. Cobell's saying that Petey in season 1 has more weight to it now. And I think the scene where he calls her fetid Muppet, at this based on his change of expression and how he walks in feebly and out briskly. Again, I'm kind of an idiot. I don't even know what this means here, so I'm just going to move past that one. Dylan turns on the team and converts to a full-time innie, showing us that others may have done that as well. I do think this is a possibility. The only thing for me is we also did see Dylan elect to resign. I may have missed a detail about him going down. I saw some things on like Reddit for that and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't know. So there is that, at least. Milchick gets violent, perhaps begins to turn on Lumen, or doubles down on being evil. I personally would like to see him turn the tide. That is how I feel. I think it would be really great to see, because I think they've done a fairly decent job this season, all things considered, of making Milchick out to be somewhat more believable. With all things considered, I think he's done a very good job so far, kind of turning that tide, and you could see a lot of the things that Lumen is doing is actually hurting him. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes for sure. Now, Ricken's backstory and allegiance is shown and calls into question his trustworthiness going forward, perhaps volunteering their baby for something with Lumen. I do think something like that would make sense, especially given that he's slightly compromised in writing this book for the innies. It's more than likely that this is what's probably going to happen. Who knows? We never know. We find out something more about Rebek and his friends Did I pronounce that name right? I don't know. We find out why the cars are old. I don't think this is going to happen, but it's likely. You never know. And Gemma does not get out. They cliffhanger with Mark still inside the testing floor with Helena, and he will presumably have to make a choice between Helly and Gemma. I could go on, but I think that's a good start. So I do think, all things considered, I think we're going to see some sort of resolution to the Gemma thing. And I know they talked about in Cold Harbor, they talked about the fact that it's essentially, or Cobell had said that it's eventually going to basically end Gemma's life. We don't know if that means kill Gemma outright, or if that means something else, like maybe her severed brain is finished and the memories that she has of Mark are going to fade when she's on that bottom floor. We don't know. I don't know. I would like to think it means that they're going to complete her transformation, and that's going to help them do research. But who knows? I feel like we need to get an answer on this before we go on. But let's keep moving. Let's go down the list a little bit more and see what we got. So, all right, I read that one. Now let's filter on out there if I can. Can I? No, I can't. All right. So we're just going to move back down to the next one. The next one comes from the Carlos Danger one. And this one is, I think Mark will be fully reintegrated and finish Cold Harbor. I definitely think that's going to happen too. By the way, this being an hour and 17-minute long episode, I think is proof we're going to get something like that, especially by them going into the birthing center and all that. Dylan will tell Mark and Helly about the route to the testing floor. Mark and Helly will go down, which will become a problem when she switches to Helena. Oh yeah, that would be actually very interesting. The season will end with him succeeding or failing to get Gemma to the outside world. I'd like to hope that it's success, but you honestly never know. You have no idea, you never know. So we'll see about that. Up next, we have the Orchid Head. Cobell helps Mark finalize his reintegration, but only as it serves her own, not yet stated goals. Take over, expose Jane as a fraud? Who knows? Mark is able to go to the severed floor fully reintegrated, severed floor shenanigans, and he is able to save Gemma, but not in the way that he expected or satisfies his motivation. I.e., she's not herself, she doesn't remember him, their relationship is tarnished, or her life is exchanged for Helly's. I think it would be really interesting if the way they set it up is in this finale, we see Gemma become a different version of Gemma, like the death of Gemma, except it's a different her. And we have to have kind of like a 51st dates of some kind before we, get the two of them back together, Mark and Gemma. Who knows? You never know. I know this is a lot of speculation. Here's the thing with this show. There's so many freaking predictions out there. You never know which one's actually going to happen. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's keep moving on. We have... this is a funny username. Crab of the Woods says, my predictions, and this is bulleted. Gemma escapes before Cold Harbor is completed. Cobell either replaces Ragabi or they become an odd couple. That's definitely not going to happen. Cobell, investigating Gemma's innies, realizes how bad her tech has been bastardized. She tells us what Cold Harbor does and is. I guess that makes sense because you do realize that Cobell oversees the severed floor, and we don't really have much information on her overseeing anything on the test floor, so it's possible. Helena crashes out over Mark. None of him wants her. She wants a second innie made of him so the company could try Cold Harbor again. That would be really interesting. I haven't heard that theory anywhere, but that would certainly be very interesting. We learn about the Wintertide Scholarship. I think we definitely will learn a little bit about that because I don't think that's the end of that story. The show portrays an actual ether factory, possible. Dylan's wife finds out reintegration is an option, but really only wants any Dylan. I don't think that's going to happen. The more Ricken accepts Lumen's money, the more Ricken accepts Lumen's money, the more culty he sounds and less Ricken he is. Integrated Mark is very disappointed. That would be a great character arc for Ricken, personally, because I like him, but he's obviously just always been like comedic relief and nothing more than that. So I think it would be interesting to see him go that route for sure. Where was I? Okay, Ricken snitches on Mark, maybe unintentionally. This seems probable to me. Devin is offered severance for her second child. Interesting as well. Old man Yowie continues to drive ratings. I don't even know what the hell that means. Maybe I'm not paying attention. I don't know what that is. That's interesting to me. Milchick stops smiling. Possibly. We find out what the board looks like. Well, I don't think the board looks like anything. I think they're AI, personally. I don't think they look like anything at all. Natalie gets a bottle episode that would that would not happen. And we learn about this world outside of Lumen. Possibly. Okay, some of them were bullshit. Some of them were real. Who knows what is what. And I'm going to save this next one here. This will probably be maybe my last theory, and then we'll talk a little bit more before we go. This is maybe my last Reddit theory. This is from emotional_rhubarb573. Thoughts of Cobell knowing how to reintegrate because she did it on herself, because she created the whole severance procedure and idea. I think she will meet with Mark and Devin and Ragabi maybe, help Mark complete reintegration and reunite at the door of the testing floor. But I don't think Gemma OG self can leave the testing floor without becoming Miss Casey. Maybe Mark goes to the testing floor where she is Gemma, but I don't know how they map that out. But maybe Cobell understands that Gemma cannot leave the testing floor, so she'll sneak Mark down there? That would be sweet, rooting for them to reunite. Side note, I don't know what I'm going to do after the show ends. I think that's true. I think it would be very interesting to see Mark go down there. Will it happen? I don't know. These are just some of the theories. I thought this was fun. I thought it'd be a little interesting to explore some ideas because I can't think of half this shit on my own. I really can't. What I really want to do with this video is make this very conversational. I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what your predictions are and we start a fun conversation down there because there is just so much out there and honestly, any one of us could be right. I gotta tell you though, the other day I was watching with my girlfriend and she suggested something. She's watching season 1 and she suggested that Gemma is alive down there. And I don't know how the hell she figured that out. I thought that was crazy. So I think that's just proof in and of itself that these theories actually can come true and do come true. I don't know, but would love to start a conversation down there. Yeah, be sure to become or check out becoming a channel member where you'll get shout outs, early access to videos, all of that stuff, and subscribe if you haven't already. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.